Good day, everyone. Today we will discuss part of Module 2, focusing on three important concepts: 4.19, Strategic Extension Campaigns; 4.20, Technology Commercialization; and 4.21, Technology Dissemination and Promotion. These three concepts are essential in understanding how innovations move from research institutions to its actual users, namely, but not limited to farmers, entrepreneurs, and communities. My name is Antonio E. Etrata Jr., a student of the DRDM program. So we begin with 4.19, Strategic Extension Campaigns. So I highlighted words or group of words to emphasize the definition and the importance of strategic extension campaigns. So allow me to read bullet number 1, primarily those that I chose to highlight: participatory, time-bound, and systematic. Agricultural extension methods developed to drive rapid, large-scale adoption of new technologies or behaviors, aimed at changing farmers' knowledge, attitudes, and practices. According to Rogers, in his article titled Diffusion of Innovations, adoption of innovations depends largely on communication strategies and social systems, and strategic extension campaigns are built on this principle. So essentially, strategic extension campaigns aims to: one, promote rapid and large-scale adoption of technologies; two, use multimedia materials; third, conduct specialized training; and fourth, implement intensive monitoring. So it is important to note that strategic extension campaigns does not replace conventional extension programs. Rather, it strengthens them by focusing on behavioral change, meaning improving farmers' knowledge, attitudes, and practices. To make strategic extension campaigns efficient and effective, there are 10 steps that we need to follow and implement chronologically. Step 1 is baseline data gathering and needs assessment. So I'll just present the 10 steps and we will discuss each substantially. Step number 2, formulation of communication goal, objectives and goals. Third, planning, analysis, and strategy development. Fourth, audience analysis and segmentation. Fifth, media selection. Step number 6, message design and development. 7, management planning and objectives. 8, training of personnel. 9, program implementation. And 10, program and summative evaluation. So in step 1, baseline data gathering and needs assessment, what should be done? What needs to do insofar as those responsible in implementing this intervention? So the very first step, as mentioned, is collecting baseline data. This means that we need to transform from assumption-based activities into evidence-driven interventions. We ask the following: what are the current, these are sample questions that we can ask. What are the current farming practices? What problems are farmers facing? And what gaps exist in knowledge or even in resources? Without baseline data, we cannot measure impact later. In research, it should always be empirical, meaning we need data. Because even in strategic management, it is important that we set our target, we set our key result area, we set our key performance indicator. And by having key performance indicators, at the very first step of any process, we need baseline data. So let me emphasize the last statement mentioned. Without baseline data, we cannot measure impacts later. That's step number 10. Evaluation, assessment, evaluation. So we cannot evaluate something without data. The second step is formulation of communication objectives and goals. So after gathering your data, we now define clear communication objectives. And we all know that in setting our objectives, we we use a very traditional yet still relevant model, the SMART model. Should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be attainable or achievable, it should be relevant, and it should be time bound. So clear objectives ensure that our messages are focused and that we can evaluate results effectively. So let me just go back to that model, the SMART model: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So we cannot just use motherhood statements or generic statements, because again, following the SMART model, it should be something that will help us evaluate the results effectively after the implementation of our program. The third is planning, analysis, and strategy development. So planning, well, the four functions of management, very first would be planning. Planning organizes actions. Analysis provides evidence. And strategy defines the approach. So together, this ensure that extension campaigns are systematic, efficient, and capable of measurable impact. So this third step answers the following: what approach will we use? What resources are required? What timeline will we follow? And going back to the basic 4M's of management, in reference to the question, what resources are needed, we have the 4M's of management: money, machine, manpower, and method. And in 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 a traditional RDO, or research and development process, primarily in determining our pipeline. So, well, this happens in actual RDO, primarily in pipeline management. Do you have enough resources? Otherwise, you might be withdrawing, or you might end up ordering a full stop in your research and development in the middle of the process because you are running out of resources. That is why it is very important as part of your planning to determine that you have enough R, or resources, from beginning to the end of your research and development, because it would be very costly as to time, as to money, or any other type of resources. Very costly mistake if the middle of your R&D, you are telling your people, hey, let's put a stop because we are running out of money. Your resources should have been properly allocated before your full-blown development. The fourth one is audience analysis and segmentation. In marketing, we have this question. It's $1 million question actually, and it's a basic question. If you cannot answer this question, who is your target market, then you might be implementing a strategy that will never work because you are targeting the wrong audience. So it is important that we, one, analyze our audience, and second, we segment. Because remember, we have a very generic or general market, and not everyone on that market is our audience or our target market. So we segment. There's actually a very classic principle, a very old principle or model in marketing that we use. Segment, target, and possession, or segmenting, targeting, and positioning. So you might, there's a high chance that you will commit a major error in your targeting and eventually in your positioning if from the very beginning your segmentation or segmenting the target, your audience, is done incorrectly. So allow me to allow me to explain further. As mentioned, the general market cannot be considered or treated as your target audience. Applying that rule on this topic, not all farmers are the same. So not all farmers are the same. So we are equating farmers to the general market, and we segment our farmers according to basic segmentation variables. So audience analysis now will help us understand the following: demographics, education levels, farm size, access to technology, and attitudes towards innovation. So we now use the four segmentation variables: demographic, geographic, behavioristic, and psychographic. These are segmentation variables that we use generally in marketing that we can use as well in step 4, primarily in analyzing our audience and eventually our segmentation. So segmentation now allows us to design targeted strategies instead of using a common mistake in in strategic management, one size fits all approach. This improves efficiency and campaign impact. The fifth one is media selection. So media selection answers the question, through which channels should we communicate? So let me repeat. Second bullet, through which channels should we communicate to achieve our objectives? So in segmentation, audience analysis and segmentation, you now have a clearer understanding as to who your target audience is. So from there, you should be able to select the medium or media that you will utilize to communicate to them. Is it traditional? Is it digital? Well, the answer to that question depends largely on the type of audience that you have or your target audience. So options may include, of course, your traditional radio, newspaper, or printed materials, etc., or digital, your social media marketing. However, again, in choosing, selecting the kind of media to use, please answer the question, who is your target audience? topics. Please don't go to TikTok if your target audience or your target market is not into TikTok. So the best media depends on what? One, audience characteristic. Second, the type of message that you'd like to convey to them. And your resources. No, don't go to EDSA, build a very big billboard there if you don't have what? 500,000 a month? Just to have that very big billboard somewhere in Guadalupe. So again, take note of your capabilities, your internal capabilities when mounting a campaign. So effective media selection enhances the success of your campaign. Sixth is message design and development. So if you have a very good collateral, for example, or you have chosen maybe social media or digital marketing, it does not end there. The message plays a very crucial role. You might have a very good media already, but you really have to craft a very meaningful and relevant message. It takes two to tango. So at this point, at this stage, you have to create clear and persuasive audience-centered message. Focus on benefits and address possible concerns. You have to encourage behavioral change. At the end of the day, your campaign should change behavior. 7, management planning and objectives. So this particular step ensures the following: proper budgeting, resource allocation, timeline management, and assignment of responsibilities. Good management planning enhances accountability and efficiency. 8, training of personnel. Extension workers must be properly trained. Training improves technical knowledge, communication skills, confidence, and consistency. Now, being consistent in the delivery of your message. So, continuous training ensures organizational growth and program effectiveness. Ninth, we now have the implementation of our program. This is where plans are put into action. So it involves now mobilizing your resources, coordinating with personnel, delivering services, and supervising activities. The implementation now requires strong coordination and monitoring. So remember, you really have to monitor because part of your function is to ensure that you will achieve your objectives, that you are spending your resources, you are allocating your resources effectively and efficiently towards the achievement of your ultimate goal. And going back to that ultimate goal, behavioral change. 10, program and summative evaluation. In the very traditional functions of management, the fourth function, the last function requires evaluation. So planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. Controlling partly has that evaluation function. All programs, if this is a general statement, all programs require evaluation. And the very purpose of evaluation is to determine whether there is progress or no progress at all. And this is where you measure the effectiveness of your program. And there are two types. So evaluation measures effectiveness. Let's say, for example, in your SMART objective, you'd like to your target is to have a 10% behavioral change or 10% adoption of of technology. So that your step number 10 now would try to determine whether you were able to achieve or you're too far from achieving your goal, or you might be too ambitious in setting your objective of 10%. So continuous evaluation is done during the program and summative evaluation is conducted at the end. So evaluation ensures accountability and provides lessons for improvement. Primarily, during the continuous evaluation, it could be that you will integrate early interventions so that in the end, summative evaluation, you are able to achieve your 10% or you might surpass your target by say 1 or 2% or you're short by 1 or 2%. So you really have to take note of your good practices and even your bad practices and use that as your references to improve, to target those areas that you need to improve. So I hope I'm making sense. Part two of my three-part report is on 4.20 technology commercialization. We have that in our RD251 as an assignment. Is commercialization a function of R&D? And fortunately, I'm part of our university's innovation center. And in one of our events with the Commission on Higher Education, where we had that mo signing, the our vice rector for research and innovation mentioned the importance of commercialization, and it is now part of our function because ideally, if you have so much projects, you have technology, you have projects in technology or technological innovations. I'd like to believe, on a personal note, I would like to believe that the acid test of your projects would be the commercialization part. Because there are two frameworks involved. The new product development, which essentially are in this part of end product life cycle. So the end of your NPD is the beginning of your product life cycle, which if we look at the two frameworks, the Venn diagram definitely would lead us to commercialization. So that's essentially the importance of commercialization in research. So commercialization is a process of bringing a new technology from your laboratory to the marketplace. So it transforms research outputs into products or services that generate not just economic value, but even social value. So let us not forget that. Commercialization, in essence, will generate will generate economic value. That's given already. It will generate money. It will generate profit because we need to sustain our operations. But let us not forget the other equally important component, the social value. For example, new seed varieties, agricultural machinery, mobile farm applications. I'm very thankful that I am part of a project that will introduce artificial intelligence and newer technologies in farming, because we know that in the Philippines we have a declining interest among younger generations to be in agriculture, farming in particular. So I hope that with this technology funded by the government, this project is funded by the government, I hope this technology will now increase interest among younger generations because technology is already part of this project. So if a farm tractor that will not require human intervention to operate. So there's now this artificial intelligence and technological advancements integrated to it, so that we would be able to encourage younger generations of Filipinos to be involved in agriculture and farming in particular. So we're hoping that at the end of our research, I'm actually doing the market research part. No? At the end of our research, we would be able to commercialize, meaning from our laboratories in the university and our laboratories, our controlled and open laboratories, we would be able to commercialize, make this available in the market so that our farmers, the older generations of farmers and our younger generation of farmers will make use of this and maybe increase their yield, their production, and sustain farming and agriculture in the Philippines. So, in effect, we are targeting both the economic value and the social value. So, commercialization bridges the gap between innovation and practical use. So, moving on to the next slide of 4.20, research institutions should develop technologies, but without commercializations, definitely these innovations will remain unused. And I'd like to believe as a researcher, it will defeat the purpose of doing research if we are not able to commercialize these innovations. I'm sorry if I'm very empathic about this, but what's the use of our innovations if this will just stay inside our laboratories? It has to go out. These innovations need to go out. And going out means, to me, is commercialization. Allow me to use our native tongue. Magamit ng mga tao. To what? To improve their lives. The studies such as those by Lysarides highlight that successful innovation in commercialization depends on strong partnerships, market readiness, financial sustainability, and strategic alliances. So in extension programs, commercialization ensures that farmers benefit economically from innovations. So the last part of my report is 4.21, technology dissemination and promotion. Technology dissemination refers to how new technologies are introduced and shared. Promotion refers to encouraging adoption, because going back to that diffusion of innovation coupled with some marketing principles, the ATAR model and the AIDA model. ATAR is awareness, trial, availability, and repeat. AIDA model is awareness, interest, desire, and action. We have to remember that both the ATAR and the AIDA, the first A of ATAR and the first A of AIDA model, begin with awareness. So in relation to the diffusion of innovation, we say that people will never use something or will never buy something they don't know it exists. So it is important that we disseminate information, that we promote our technology using the very first part of this report, which will now allow us to make people aware that, hey, this technology exists. So these are essential in transforming innovations into practical solutions that benefit society or community. So according to Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, participatory approaches significantly increase adoption rates because communities become active partners rather than becoming just passive recipients. So in effective dissemination strategies, we should demonstrate trials, farmer field schools, social media campaigns targeting the younger generation, public-private partnership, and community-based training. This, the goal rather, is to ensure technologies are not confined to laboratories but widely adapted to improve productivity, livelihoods, and sustainability. So I'm just thankful that in my experience, primarily in our innovation center, we get to partner with communities. So our project, our farm tractor project. I'm sorry, but I cannot mention the name yet. Our farm tractor project, we were able to partner with a very big cooperative of farmers in Tarlac and Nueva Ecija to make our project really targeting, focusing the end user. We use, we are using the problem solution approach so that in the end, it will not be so hard for us to disseminate and promote our project because from the very beginning we have already made we already made sure that we are talking to the right audience or we are talking to the right people market. No, we are talking to the right market. So I'd like to thank you for listening to our discussion part of our module 2. But allow me to, as our discussion points, allow me to read question number 1 and question number 2. So how can strategic extension campaigns improve the adoption rate of new agricultural technologies compared to traditional extension approaches? And what could be challenges that might arise in the technology commercialization and process? And how can extension workers help address these challenges to ensure successful adoption? So with that, thank you very much again. Good day. And for my references, you might want to read further. So again, thank you very much and good day, everyone.